Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Room, the podcast brought to you by LFC Transfer Room. And we have a very special guest with us today, the voice of Anfield, George Sephton. How are you, George?
I'm okay for this time of a Sunday. It is Sunday today, isn't it? I've slightly lost track now.
It is, yeah, it is. Although we're clinging on, it's getting dark and the nights are starting to pull in, which is always sad to see.
I'm
obviously Ritchie, and I'm one of your co-hosts. My other co-host to my right of me, the cameras are flipped around, is YouTube sensation Matty Orm. How are you today, Matty?
I'm good. Missing the footy. Don't like international footy, but I'm all right.
Yeah, not a huge fan myself of these weekends. And below me, that's right, isn't it? Yes, there we go. Is Daz O'Connor, the podcast extraordinaire. How are you, Daz?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm the same as Matty. I don't watch too much internationals, but I just check for afterwards if there's any injuries.
Yeah, well, we had obviously Hendo and Trent playing both in midfield today as well, and they lasted, I think, the whole game. I turned it off when it got to 4-0 at 85 minutes, but I think they survived. But seeing Trent in midfield when Klopp has obviously never utilised him there, and Gareth Southgate now has, thoughts of? I mean, I don't know if any of you caught Trent in midfield at all.
Oh yes, I watch all the international games, and I get very annoyed with people who don't. I reckon it should be compulsory.
Good. I'm glad, George, because I've had several arguments with these two about this as well. That the Euros was a fantastic competition, and I think they missed out, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah, I mean I love tournament football, always have done. But yeah, I watched it to the bitter end. That Jordan and Trent both got through unscathed, and they both did well. I think Trent looked a bit like I had
lost at times, didn't he?
Yeah. But I mean, fair enough. He's never played in that position well, certainly in the top level before. So it was well. I'm sure he could do well there. I mean, he could do well anyways. And he was taking corners, and I thought, that's good. He's back in the old routine.
Yeah, he was beating the first man as well, which was always nice to see. So yeah, but yeah, I thought he did okay. I think at times he perhaps looked a little bit lost, but at times, you're asking someone, to make almost their professional debut in an international match for their national team where they've never played before in a midfield slot. It's not as if he's played for the club in midfield. So yeah, although I wouldn't mind a young lad called Jude Bellingham to make an appearance in a Liverpool shirt.
No, I'm with you there.
Next summer.
Yeah. That's the dream. Although we've just got over Kylian Mbappe not joining us, so let's not start a new dream. So George, obviously, like the voice of Anfield since 1971. Could you just give us a bit of background, really, about how you got the gig and how you? I mean, it's the best job in the world, surely.
Sometimes it can get quite stressful on occasion, but no, people have been asking me lately about how I got in there. It's all in the book, of course. But, well, basically, I was a Liverpool fan from being a child. I stood on the Kop for 10, 11 years. One night in 1971, April 71, I was at the game with my wife. And the guy on the PA made a bloomer, and I made some sarcastic remark about him. And she just looked at me, deadpan, likewise, do. It's all right for you standing down here, but you couldn't do any better. And I looked, it was like a red rag to a bull. I thought, well, actually, I don't know what possessed me. I went home, wrote a long letter on a typewriter. Remember typewriters?
Not personally.
You're a liar. And basically it was A4 sided paper, but it boiled down to the old José Hughes line, dear sir, gives a job. And they just decided to give this fellow the big E, apparently. And Peter read my letter, thought, well, he's quite articulate, he can speak English. And they got me in for a chat, and then they decided to give me a trial. And I keep telling people, nobody believes me. 51 years later, the trial is still actually going on. Nobody's ever said to me, "Oh, you're on. You got the job. It's yours." I just keep turning up there like a bad penny.
They are paying you though, right? You've not gone 51 years with it.
Pardon?
They are paying you though, aren't they? You've not gone 51 years.
Yes.
That's all right then.
I'm getting very mercenary in my old age. I wouldn't get away without paying me.
You must have seen some unbelievable things over the years, though, George.
Yes, it's as I say, there are two things about. Well, there are three things I must say. First thing, people have this misconception: I get paid £100 a week like the players. No, I'm bosom pals with the manager. Still no. And I get 500 free tickets every week. That's, I wish. But I say to people that I look back sometimes. I'll just stand still and think, how did I get here? Or how did I get to talk to these people? It's not just footballers I meet, but it's musicians and actors and whatever. I got to consider friends over the years. And I look. I mean, Kenny. I think it's about 20 years ago. I was coming out of Anfield one night, and he was parking his car and went past me and said, "Good night, George." And I came home and said to my wife, "Kenny just called me George." And she said, "Well, what would he call you?" I said, "Well, no, just he knows who I am." She said, "Of course he does, you silly old fool." And it's still surreal when that happens. I mean, here we are. I'm talking to somebody on the other side of the Atlantic from my little desk here at home. The other week, I was on live national TV lunchtime one day, and you go back over the years that being in the middle of some of the big nights at Anfield, and what year was it? 1995. I was working for the FA at the League Cup final, and I stopped. I just looked around. I'm standing in the centre circle at Wembley with a microphone. How did this happen? It's like a big long dream, and I keep thinking, any day now I'll wake up, like Bobby Ewing, I'll get out the shower and realise it was all a long dream. But it's great. It's great.
Even with like your book, must feel amazing for you to have it forward by Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
After
Absolutely.
standing on the Kop with like Kenny being an absolute icon of the club, how is it to have his name associated with you as well?
Exactly. He's been so good, Kenny, over the years. He's a lovely bloke. Once you get to know him, but when it was coming to somebody writing a forward, I thought, well, it's got to be Kenny if I can get hold of him. And I'm very friendly with his daughter, Kelly. She went to school with my daughter, as it happened. So I got on to her. I said, "Do you think your dad would write the forward for my book?" She said, "Oh, I'm sure he would. I'll ask. I'll get back to you shortly." And she did. An hour later, he said, "Yeah, he'd be delighted." And a couple of days later, my phone goes here, and this, withheld number. Pick it up. "Hey, it's Kenny." And I went, "Oh." And he just said, "What do you want me to do?" And you've got it all sorted. And Elvis Costello has written some sleeve notes for the back of the dust cover, which I was pleased about, because I wanted a musical collection as well. Because obviously my job at Anfield is split 50-50 with football and music. And Elvis Costello I've got to know quite well over the last 2 or 3 years. I've known him for years, but I think it was the middle of 2001. I saw him 3 times in 3 different countries, would you believe, in the space of a week. And I didn't see him for years, and I got to know him again. He started coming to Anfield again regularly about 3 years ago. And I asked would he write some stuff, and he did. And I messaged him. I said that I'm very pleased, but you beggar, it's actually funnier than what I've written in the book. So, but it's great, and he said he was pleased to do it. So that's just, as I say, it just makes life worthwhile, things like that.
Those two, Kenny and probably Elvis, are probably, telling people your name as well.
Yeah,
I'd be proud to be in your book.
This is true. I know Elvis was quite chuffed. There was one or two other people who I was amazed to find were pleased to get in the book. Although there were a few things that were edited out just for sheer space. In fact, I'm already working on the follow-up because there's a few things I wanted to get in there, and I'll probably finish that in 3 years if I'm not in the happy home by then. I'll, I have two theories. I say it's more than likely I'll have a heart attack when Liverpool equalise in the 94th minute one day, or more to the point, I said I have this vision of my wife finding me one Sunday morning, dead in the armchair, clutching the winning lottery ticket. That'll be my luck. But no, it's fantastic. It's just, the more I get asked about the book, and I get nice things on over the social media about the book. I've got pages and pages of it. And I've had one grump. I don't know the guy, but he put in the reviews on Amazon, and it's all Rose and Rose. Oh yeah, great, enjoyed that. Took me back a lot of memories. And then this guy pops up. Oh, I didn't like it at all. And he gave us full, deep literary criticism of the thing. And I thought, well, it's not War and Peace. It's a story of Liverpool Football Club from a different perspective. That's what he did there. And in my case, it's a unique view of the club.
What's his name?
I've forgotten. If you give me half an hour, I'll scroll back through Facebook and find him.
You touched on the music there as well, George. That's something that I really like about you, that you give young bands a chance to be heard in front of so many thousand people. How did that come around? Was that just you proud of the bands within the city?
This place is the center of the universe, and I was a baby boomer. I grew up in the 60s. When I was at school, at senior school, there were these two young lads, bit older than me, and at lunchtime, if it was raining, the rule was you got a book and went and sat in a big hall, right? Me and my mate, we used to slide down to the basement to one of the science lecture rooms and watch these lads practicing their chords on the guitars. One was called George Harrison, the other was called Paul McCartney, and that gave me a real perception of what the way it goes. Those lads, eventually got their breaks by successing of huge coincidence. You know the story. And then since then, I've come across so many young musicians who are great, just need an airing somewhere. I try my best. I've been very lucky the last few years. When was it in the 80s? Everybody had a cassette recorder at home. I got some real rubbish sent to me on little cassettes. You get stacks of them, and you think, oh, I can't play that. Once in a while, you get something really good. But since people have got CD technology and digital technology, the standard of the stuff I get is phenomenal. And I've got the opposite problem now. I can quite often get to 3 days before the game, and I've got 4 hours worth of music to play. And obviously, I don't have 4 hours to go, and I have to shuffle things around and do my best for these people. I know once in a while, people do well out of me playing them. Not very often, but they've heard the stories about record producers sitting in the stand and their ears prick up when they hear something. I know there's been a few bands over the years who got a record contract on the back of me playing them at Anfield, which is fantastic. If there's just one, I'd be happy, but there's quite a few. And of course, it gives them a bit of pride to be played at Anfield from all those people. it gives them a bit of street cred because they're being played at Anfield. So it all helps. And I say one of these days I'll be in the Royal Box at the Albert Hall watching somebody who started out with me playing them.
You're very proud of people like Jamie Webster, then, aren't you?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Jamie, God bless him. It's just been fantastic watching him come from basically a pub singer and doing the big gigs and touring the world with his boss nights and been to Australia, and I know he's going to Canada shortly, and he's doing so well. He's such a nice bloke, and he's just great to watch him. And of course, my real pride is Atomic Kitten. I was the first person to give them a big airing as well. But, I'm quite proud. I was still keep in touch with one of the girls, but that's about it. People used to be fair. There's
been so many bands who have discovered local bands from you playing them at the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's aside from football, that side of your job as well is it's incredible what you do. Really, I love people who promote local music because we are the best for music, 100%.
Yeah, we always have been. There's been eras, obviously. The Beatles who started the '60s scene. The Beatlemania, Merseybeat, and you move on to Eric's or the Punks, and through the '80s and the '90s, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Lightning Seeds. Then you move forward to the Zootons, the Coddle, and they've each got a decade of their own, and long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a question here from No Pats and No Part who says, "Hi George, what's your most memorable moment at Anfield, and what's your second favourite stadium?"
Memorable moment. I'll put the right teeth in a minute. Obviously, at the end of the Barcelona game in 2019, well, I put You Never Walk Alone on, and the whole squad, players, backroom staff, everybody lined up in front of the Kop. And then at the end of that, they all the guys on the pitch disappeared. Nobody moved on the Kop, and I bagged on Imagine just to calm things down, and the whole place took it up, and that was amazing. I've just sat in my box looking down and listening to this. I think that's amazing. And then I've told the story quite a few times lately that I was getting messages from all over the world after that, people saying I was here, I was there listening to it. There was a guy in Sydney. He said he was in Sydney Casino, 6 o'clock in the morning. Place is full of all these big, rugged sheep farmers, and they were all in floods of tears singing Imagine with John Lennon. That was great. Second favourite stadium, Monaco. I went there to work at the Super Cup in 2001. That is such an amazing place. It really is. It was such a great 2 or 3 days. I flew out on the plane with the players. Never done that before or since. Not likely to. We had the put me up in 5-star hotel. Well, actually, I think in England it'd be about 8 stars. Fantastic place. Just being in that place. If you've never been, you should go. I mean, you go out and wander around, and there's people, women walking the dogs, and they look like they're going to a garden party at the palace. They're just, the whole ambience of the place is just amazing. And being there and mixing with the people I was mixing with. It was absolutely fantastic. I really loved that weekend.
I mean, it's almost a shame that obviously I don't know if he was there in 2005 actually in the stadium, but it's always a shame. I think that 2005 was obviously in Istanbul, and if you were there, it was special, and it was still special at home. But I think perhaps only that night Istanbul rivals, that exact moment that you said, that Barcelona comeback. I actually spoke to somebody. It was yesterday as I was picking up my food, and he saw my bumper sticker, and it says like Liverpool champions 2020. He said, "Oh, you're a Liverpool fan as well?" And I said, "Yeah." As you get talking, as football fans are waiting for your food, and he said, "What's your favourite moment?" And I always would have said Istanbul, but I think I now say that Barcelona game 4-0 because whilst that AC Milan team was absolutely phenomenal.
They were.
With Crespo, Shevchenko, Nesta, Maldini, like they were phenomenal. But there was just something about it being at Anfield, and there was something about panning to the crowd afterwards, or Milner on his hands and knees crying, or Klopp running on, or Salah not even playing and just getting hugged. For me, that I would agree, that is the most iconic moment. I'm only at a very tender age at 33 years old, but for me, that resonates.
I'd have to disagree. You know, my favourite moment is the Steven Gerrard Olympiacos goal in 2005 and the lead up to that.
Well, they found a clip on LFCTR a few years back. When Stevie scored that goal, I was hysterical. I don't do hysterical. I'm Mr. Calm. And I was screaming down the microphone that night. Because I was thinking, this is it, we're going out. And it was 2005. We hadn't been to a European Cup final or the Champions League final for since Heysel, 20 years. And I was so desperate, for my family to be there, to see the Champions League final with Liverpool. And then there we are, we're going out of it, and then Stevie scores that goal and we're back in. I should point out, incidentally, I didn't get to Istanbul. People don't believe me. I'm still waiting for my ticket for that one to turn up. That's a bone of contention that's stuck me for a long time. I really, really choked about that. There were a lot of people went from the club, but not Wilkins here. No, I turned into the invisible man for a couple of weeks.
So that's a shame to hear that, really, because
it is a shame
for me. Yeah, you're as iconic as some of the players, because every game I've ever went to, it's been your voice announcing some of the great goals, and that's horrible to hear. That, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I said. Oh gosh, what a shame.
I'm sure.
and those exact words. Yeah,
not quite, nearly.
I suppose that leads on really nicely to my question that I was going to put to you. Sorry, Matty, I think I'm on a slight delay. I mean, my question, there's been so many of them, and I'm sure it's really difficult to say, but you've had the absolute pleasure of seeing so many Liverpool players play live. And it's a question that, we ask guests on the podcast all the time. I still, hear different ones every time. But, who would you say is not necessarily the best player that you've seen live, but somebody who is perhaps inspirational, somebody who gave you a moment that you'll never forget? Like who would you, if you had to narrow it down to that one player? And I know it's difficult because you've seen so many, we have been blessed with so many, but who could it be?
Well, I always say to people when they ask me this question, I've got 3 kids. You wouldn't think of asking me who was my favorite. And it's the same with the players at Liverpool, although the last few years, I can't get away from saying Kenny. A few months ago now, I did an interview for a German TV station, and they asked me about the comparison between Jurgen and Shankly. And I said, Jurgen is the only manager who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Shankly. And then my wife said, afterwards, why you didn't mention Kenny? And I said, well, no, I don't think of Kenny as a manager. He was a terrific manager, fantastic player, the best. I always say he's the best I've ever seen at Liverpool. I mean, not just playing for Liverpool, playing at Anfield. And then what he did after the Hillsborough crisis was just unbelievable. He put himself through the ringer for us. And then he goes away, gets abused, pushed off, and then he comes back again and does it all over again. And since he's just settled at being an ambassador for the club, which he does a fantastic job in, he's just done so many things for so many people, and he's an absolute ray of sunshine when you talk to him. He's a fantastic bloke. So, but as I say, I've got to plumb for Kenny.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, most people hug, obviously. Yeah, that's it. That tends to be, it's either Kenny or Stevie, doesn't it? And, quite close.
Stevie, in another few years, if he comes back to Anfield to manage, we might be having a different conversation in 10 years' time. But I say, I couldn't name a first 11 for it to save my life. Again, one of my pet sayings is, if you ask me to name my first 11, I say, okay, you've got to start with Kenny. If you have Kenny, you've got to have Ritchie alongside him. Where does that leave Mo Salah, Ian St. John, and Kevin Keegan? And that's just the front two, and then you work here. Ray Clements, definitely the best goalkeeper I've ever seen at Anfield. But then you go through the same thing with defence. If you have Alan Hansen, you've got to have Lolo alongside him. You can't leave Virgil out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say, I've tried this. I think I got down to about 48 people in the end, and I couldn't go any further. I could probably name a whole league full of Liverpool players and make teams up, but that's it. But the thing is, we've been so lucky to see all these guys, and I'm being luckier than most, and I get to meet a lot of them over the years. But Ian St. John was another one. He came to Anfield around the same time as I started watching Liverpool in the 60s, and by absolute coincidence, he actually left Anfield about a fortnight. I'm not sure the fortnight after I started working there or a fortnight before, but around that time. And then 4 or 5 years ago, I did a few gigs with him, and we did a few things on LFCTR together. And that's another, what I was saying to you before, Matty, about a surreal moment. Sitting in a TV studio, and it's not Saint and Greavesy, it's Saint and Georgie. And how did I get here? This is, God here, and I'm sitting talking to her like we're old friends, and we did a few things together. There's a wonderful video on YouTube of a night at the Devonshire House Hotel in Liverpool. It was a tribute night for Saint. At the last minute, they asked me to say a few words, and I did this little speech I was really proud of. And in the end, again, they had all these big hairy dockers in floods of tears, and Saint shaking my hand, and it was wonderful. And just going to the rehearsals for this night and talking to the guy like you were old friends. It's just amazing. He just, you couldn't buy experiences like that.
And then that puts me on to seeing quotes like this about Kenny Dalglish for your book, saying George Sephton's a part of the brickwork of Liverpool Football Club, and to witness so many iconic moments. It's been a roller coaster ride, and George has been there for all the ups and downs, but mainly the ups.
That's true.
Like just having Dalglish talk about you, and then doing stuff with St. John, and Klopp's very fond of you, then
that's only come up recently. I was shocked about that. Very pleased.
And then on top of all that, though, George, you seeing Liverpool lift the Premier League, which many of us didn't.
No.
How was that?
I was at a dinner March the 8th last year, just before lockdown, and Peter Moore gave a talk, and he said then that Liverpool had 1 billion followers on the planet. And the night we got the league trophy, there were 300 people inside Anfield, and I was one of them. And I thought, how privileged am I? I didn't even have any work to do. Sky took over all the presentations and whatever. I just sat there, and under my window, there's Kenny handing the trophy over to Hendo, and you think, wow. And I've got some wonderful pictures. I took 2 of my grandsons in to the museum early one morning. A few weeks later, we had our pictures taken with all the trophies. And God bless the museum staff. They let me and the boys hold all these trophies. And, it was, again, magic, absolute magic. And I'll treasure that moment forever. I'm welling up again now.
Not so bad about not getting a ticket to Istanbul then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, watching lift the Premier League and then Istanbul, lucky.
It just means that we have to win it again with the fans in as well,
Oh yes, that'll be something. I think we're quite capable of winning it. But I've been worried all summer because last year Anfield was so spooky. You know, if you watch the TV matches, you can hear the crowd noises, you can see all the colour, you can see the player. The football is exactly as it would be if the place was full. But when you're actually in the place, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Somebody said to me it was ghostly. And I think that's about right. And at the end of the Crystal Palace game, at the end of last season, I came home and said to my wife, thank God that's all over. I've never, ever been so desperate to get out of anywhere as I was. And that all summer I've been thinking, when we get back to work and there's 54,000 people in the place, I'm not sure I can cope for it. It's going to take me a while to get back into it. But as it happened, it's been like, you know, all the hassle is being outside, people trying to get in, but inside we've got the music going and crowd singing and whatever. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it was a massive moment. Obviously, that first home game. My second daughter was actually born on the 14th of August.
Same as mine. Yeah.
Oh, really? So, but she was born literally like 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago on the 14th of August, and she was born at 1 a.m. and like obviously the whole ordeal is quite emotional anyway. Yeah. But we got home and we got home at 6 a.m. and obviously the Liverpool Burnley game was on later that day, and Becky was like, "Are you sure you're all right? Are you sure?" And my wife was like, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I was like, "Yes, I'll be fine. And then literally 10 minutes later when she came in and obviously the crowd was singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," I was like, "Ooh!" just in bits. Like I think it's just completely overwhelming. Everything was obviously overwhelming, but I just knew it as soon as the crowd was back in, and that's exactly what it does to you. And where people say the Anfield is a myth, well, if you go back and have a look at last season's home record, or you go back and look at what some top managers and players have said about Anfield, and it's certainly not a myth, So no. I was going to ask you, what was it like without the fans last season, and how glad are you to have them back?
Yeah. I'll say it was horrible. It really, it's like a lot of things. You had to be there to appreciate it. The place was so quiet and echoey and dark and cold, all through right through the season. It was funny. I was telling somebody a story yesterday. September last year, first day of the season, I was chuffed to pieces because I've made it into season 50. Because obviously there was a possibility that the previous one would have been postponed or voided or whatever. But I was so chuffed and marched up to Anfield on the opening day, parked my car, and I go to the accreditation desk. And this girl looks at me, "Can I help you, love?" Yeah, I need me. Do you work here, do you? Yes. What's your name? Sephton. So you're not on the list, you can't come in. I said, "What do you mean I'm not on the list?" Anyway, she spelt my name wrong. I got through that. Went to the bag search. A woman steward I'd never seen before. "Can I help you, love? Do you work here, do you?" "Yeah, I need my bag searching." Yeah. And I get through that, and she thinks I'm some lunatic, and I'm telling her I've been here 50 years. Steward stops me going across the front of the Anfield. "Can't go down there." "Yes, I can." "No, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to." I said, "Yeah, I am." And eventually I said, "Look, son, it's not your fault, but I'm going over there. If you want to call Jurgen, the chief steward, the police, Kenny, whoever you like, I'm still going over there." And I went, and then I got past another steward. I said, "Oh, forget it," and just walked past. But by the second game, they'd obviously all been told. You said, that old fool with the white hair, he does actually work here. And I was all right for a bit after. Most of the time, I got stopped once or twice, and that was great until we started doing vaccinations. Towards the end of the season, they used the lounges as vaccination centres. Then I started getting stopped by a completely different bunch of people, all the NHS volunteers. "Can't go in there." "Yes, I can work here." "Have you got your card?" "What card?" "You vaccinated?" "No, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I work here." and eventually get through a steward. Then there'd be somebody taking my temperature, and I said, "You don't have to. I'm not here for a vaccination." Battled past him, and the steward, the lift's over there. Yes, I know where the lift is. Thank you. I've been going up and down in that lift for quite a while now. And he said, first floor. I said, no, I'm going up the third. Oh, you can't go up there. It's on the. Yes, I can. I didn't actually get into fisticuffs. We came pretty close. But then, of course, the funny thing was, around about then, I got my first, dummy copy of this thing. And I took a picture of the front, put it on a postcard, and I carried it around with me. And when they said you can't go in there, or the favourite one was, do you know where you're going? Yeah, I just held the thing. Can I refer you to this? My 50 years with Liverpool Football Club. Yes, I do know where I'm going. Thank you. And let me get in and do some work. It was, it wasn't funny at the time, but it's absolutely hysterical looking back at it now.
Yeah, they should have known your voice. It's the most iconic voice.
Well, yeah, I know that's something else. Once I quite often get stopped by stewards over the years, and then I'll just stand, clear my throat. There'll be 2 minutes of added time. 2 minutes, and then they'll go, "Oh, sorry, mate." And off you go.
Knew you were straight away, but. Yeah, speaking of your book, George, it came out obviously in May of this year.
Yeah.
How's it been? What's the reception been like towards it?
Very good. It was already doing well because I was publicising the thing on my Twitter feed. Then they asked me, the publishers asked me to pass a few copies round to various people. I mean, Robbie Fowler, Jamie Carragher, Aldo, God bless, Sam Queck, God bless her. They all put it on their Twitter pages, like this usual stuff. And then I got onto Jurgen's PA and I said, "Do you think he'd mind having his picture taken with the thing?" I can tell you the date. It was April the 12th. I got a picture emailed to me as Jurgen holding the book, and you can see the sales go up that night. And chugging along nicely until publication day, when I was on Channel 4, Steph's back lunchtime on Channel 4. And in the middle of the interview, Jurgen suddenly appears on a big screen behind me. And you must have seen the clip by now, everybody else has, telling me what a wonderful bloke I was, and this wishing me good luck with your wonderful book. And I was so shocked. But again, that night, up it went again, and it's been chugging along nicely. I actually crept into Amazon's top 50 that night, which is, unheard of for a book like this. But it's still floating along near the top. I need, I'm after another publicity stunt now. I'm scratching my head thinking of something. I think I'm putting a rumor out that I'm not having an affair with Meghan Markle. Anything like that, just to see if it gets in the press. It'll take something. But I'm really pleased with it.
If you're looking for rumours after this summer, perhaps you can say that you put 100 million into the transfer kitty. That'll get you a few followers and
that's true. Yeah. Well, what night is it? Sunday night. Look at the. I'll keep it on the Mega Millions on the lotto this week and see what cooks. The next time you see me, I might have a big fat cigar and a suede suit or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking about, I mean, you gave sort of like a prediction. You said that we're capable of challenging this year. What do you think realistically, our target should be this year moving forwards?
I'm from the old-fashioned Shankly school. You always favourite saying, first is first, second is nowhere. I want to win the league. We're perfectly capable. Some great squads knocking about. United have got Ronaldo back. Chelsea have bought Lukaku. Everton have got Rafa in charge, which has got to be a Brucey bonus. City, they're still spending money like the proverbial sailor with no arms. But something my dad used to say years ago, it's still true. it's still 11 versus 11, and we have got the squad that can cope with anything. Obviously, last year we were horrendously unlucky. I've never known anything remotely like it. The injuries, our entire defence went missing, didn't it? Basically, the whole middle of the team. Poor Allison lost his dad. Jurgen lost his mum. Everything at every possible turn, things went wrong. And of course, as you said earlier, we suffered most from the empty stadiums because we had further to fall in terms of fan backing. City and Arsenal, people like that, being in an empty stadium can't be much of a surprise for them because they're both, like churches half the time. But we really suffered. This year we got the crowd itching to go. We've got everybody back. Jurgen's back on form. Jurgen is still Jurgen, and we've got to get some silverware in the cupboard this year. Champions League or Premier League or both would be nice, just to put us back on our perch because we climbed back on it last year. You had to write off because we worked miracles to get into Champions League slots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jurgen Klopp said that was one of his greatest achievements, if not the greatest achievement as manager. You know, that final run towards the end was something that had to happen, like something miraculous, and that is exactly what Liverpool needed, was a miracle to get into the Champions League.
How excited are you for the Champions League to come back then, George? Because obviously, you in last season, you're probably thinking, "Oh my God, the fans are going to be back with no European night." So, how much are you looking forward to AC Milan?
I'm quite looking forward to it. I'll say I'm just getting myself back in the groove because the Champions League nights are very stressful for me because UEFA, they're so finicky about timings and everything. Even now they're still sort of. We have a rehearsal early on of the Champions League music, the walk-on music, and signals and all. And I keep saying, I've done this before. We really don't need to do all these silly rehearsals, but they give me more earache than anybody. It's caused more hassle over the years than the Premier League ever knew how to. But it'll be good. We've got a good, tough group, but again, nothing we can't handle.
And Alex,
it'd be nice to see AC Milan as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We've never seen AC Milan at Anfield, have we? So that in itself is going to be historic.
No, that's true. Obviously, I'm old enough to remember '65 when we beat Inter Milan at Anfield. The situation that prevailed in 2005. That Liverpool had not long been in the second division, and here we are playing Inter Milan, who are really in the top 3 or 4 clubs in the world, along with Real Madrid and Benfica and a couple of others. And we gave him a good hiding. Well, we were cheated out of the second leg. That was, the biggest carve up in history. But I was there standing on the Kop that night. It was just unbelievable. But again, 11v11. And the same thing happened in Istanbul. And the same thing is going to happen this year. We'll sort them out.
But too many people already writing us off on the league. I don't think you should write Liverpool off on anything.
No, why? Well, we couldn't even write Arsenal off yet, and they're bottom of the league. It's only just coming to September. Things will settle down. It's obvious who the good teams are. I mean, I still think Chelsea would be our main rivals during the season because they, Thomas Tuchel is he's a second Jurgen. He knows what he's doing. He looks like if he didn't know what he did for a living, you'd think he was a school teacher or something, wouldn't you? He doesn't look like a Premier League manager. He certainly knows what he's doing. Really
he reminded me of a pro cyclist in his when he was talking to the fourth official and his hat on, and he just looked a cyclist, So I mean, when I think we discussed straight afterwards, we have a Twitter Spaces, and we discussed the Liverpool-Chelsea game straight after the game happened, and we said that was sending off to Reece James perhaps damaged Liverpool more than it did Chelsea, because Chelsea would then just sit back, 9 men behind the ball. That's Thomas Tuchel's bread and butter at Dortmund. He could always play the low block, and that's how he used to get results. And so I think that I would have taken the penalty all day, but perhaps in hindsight, it was a far more open game, and we had far more clear-cut chances, I think, had it been 11 versus 11. So, I mean, I agree. We spoke that we all think that City still need a striker, that they've never really replaced Aguero. I think Man United, although it's wonderful, I say, that Ronaldo is back, it's not going to be the same Ronaldo that was 5-6 years ago. And I still think they need someone in that midfield. So I completely agree. I think it's completely open between, I think, 4 teams, maybe 3 if we're excluding Manchester United, because I don't think, I don't know, maybe it's just my biased hatred towards them, but I just don't think they're quite up there with City, Chelsea, and City. And us, sorry.
Yeah, I think you're right. I must tell you a funny story. I got a call a couple of months ago from a Norwegian acquaintance of mine. I met him in Liverpool in a coffee bar. He said he wanted some books, so I took 10 books along, and he had 10 bits of paper that sign this one to Bjorn, okay, this is for Eric, this is for Thor, and then he got to number 10, and this is for Ole Gunnar. I said, I beg your pardon. He said, Ole, I said, you winding me up? No, and this guy is bosom pals with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Wow.
So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got one of these in his desk at Old Trafford. Well, at least he did have. He might have used it as a firewood by now. But not only that, he's the guy who got me to make a video for him. So that was funny. But
that's
again,
cool.
That's another surreal moment. The Manchester United manager has got my book.
Closet Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
They
was. I've got a picture of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with his Liverpool top on, going back years.
I'll have to. You'll have to send us that, because a lot of my friends are Man United fans, so I'd love to send that to them.
I shall find it.
One of the first things in your book, George, says that you never ever thought you'd be here 50 years on.
No.
Why? Why did you never think it? You've got such an iconic voice in the ground. Everyone relates to you. At what point did you think, hold on, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life?
I still haven't. I mean, what year? 2000. Yeah, I don't even realize. I was actually sacked in 2000, but nobody bothered to tell me. And I turned up the first day of the season, and Phil Easton from Radio City was there with his sound engineers, and we looked at each other, and we both said at the same time, "What are you doing here?" And Radio City had reached an agreement to put one of their guys into Anfield, and I was leaving, but nobody had told me. They'd all bottled out to telling me, and there was such a fuss that they had to backtrack, and I got the job again. There's been a bit of argy-bargy recently. But I said, look, if somebody wants to come up to me and say, listen, Fatso, you've had a good run now, up it, I could live with that. But it's if people are making remarks or trying to take bits of my job off me or whatever, I get quite upset. And one of the things about me, I'm not good at taking hints. If people hint that they want, I don't know, tickets or CDs or money or whatever, it'll go in there and out the other one. But anyway, I've said quite openly, I really would like to be working there when the Anfield Road ends extended, when we got 60,000 people in there. By then, I'm 75 now. I'll be nearer 80 than 70 by then. And I wonder how long I can keep going, really, before I lose my marbles completely. I mean, I'm getting to an age and I can, doing some silly things, the usual thing, putting the sugar in the fridge, that sort of thing. But it's, and I'm getting very bad at remembering names. But while I've got scripts and plenty of time to get yourself organised, I'm fine. And again, once in a while somebody will abuse me on Twitter, and I very rarely reply to them. What I normally do is retweet them and then come back 2 or 3 hours later and see what the response has been. And touch wood, to date, every single time it's come back 99% on my side. If the day comes that happens and I come back and everybody said, yeah, it's about time he moved on, I'll be out of there like a shot. I'm, not going to outstay me well. It's my kingdom, and I want to keep on and see how it goes. And I say I'd be nice to see a bit more silverware before I disappear.
I was going to ask you, I mean, like about Anfield, because obviously, in the Hicks and Gillette era, there was movements and there were plans to obviously move stadium, if you like. Without going into FSG too much, like for me, one of the biggest things was that we're not going to move the stadium and they're going to expand it. They've done it once, they're now looking to do it twice. I mean, that surely is so exciting, like for you to see Anfield actually expanding rather than moving somewhere else. Because, like you've said, it's happened with West Ham, it's happened with Arsenal, and it's happened with Spurs. Although the Spurs stadium is fantastic, you're still not capturing that same atmosphere. It's not the Kop if you move it.
No. I'm really impressed with what FSG have done to our stadium. And I remember going past Stanley Park one day when Gillette and Hicks were there, and I parked. I had to go in I don't know, it was the garage at the top of Priory Road or somewhere, but I parked, and there were these guys making boreholes and they were taking soil samples. That was the start of the process to build a new stadium. It looked great on paper, but as you said, it's not Anfield. That's Anfield. What they've done to it is fantastic. Even the acoustics in the new stand are fantastic. They put some serious, proper thought into it. And what we got is great. It's going to be greater. And obviously they're building out and they've knocked down some houses. They've got all the open spaces, the parkland, everything is if they ever get built around to building that railway station they were talking about, it'll be absolutely perfect. But I'm glad I'm part of it. And I remember when they knocked the old Anfield Road down, the start of the following season, one side was missing till about November. And just walking around Anfield to get to my spec was horrible. It looked like a bomb had gone off at the far end. And I thought, no, just leave this place alone, and they rebuild it, update it, step by step, and that's what they're doing. It's going to be great. Anfield Road's a bit of a mess at the road end itself, the car park or whatever, but nothing to write home about.
I think for me, the day end you actually do the part would be sad for so many Liverpool fans, probably my generation, a few generations older, because ever since I've been going to the game when I was 6 or 7 every week, your voice is the one everyone hears. Like, you're the one who's stuck around. We've seen players like Suarez, Torres go, broke me heart, but you've always stayed. So it'll be very, very sad. And there's a comment here who says Liverpool should name a stand after you. And do you know what? I think I agree.
Thank you.
I think I would.
Yeah. I think there's talk of naming the gents' toilets in the Anfield Road.
That's a start.
I'm still waiting for somebody at the club to say, "Oh, well done for 50 years, George," but that might happen one day.
That's what I love about you, George. You're gracious. You are. I mean, you're the first person, like, you hear when you get in your seat at Anfield, and you're the last person as well. For me, I like to, go early and leave as late as I can, especially if we win, and hear your voice. And
I think that's the problem. People are so used to me. Obviously, there's 2 generations have never heard another voice, and if I wasn't there, they'd get really twitchy about things and be different. I know. Let me think. It was 2008, the last time I missed a game. My son, God bless him, got married down in Crawley, and I obviously had to be there. And we were playing Wigan, so there was no chance of the game being moved to a Sunday or a Monday. And I know during the reception, my other son started getting all these messages on his mobile. Where's your dad? What's wrong? Is he all right? And by the time I got home to Liverpool after the wedding, I think it was the old Daily Post. They had a forum online, and I was dead on there. Apparently, it worked its way around from George must be ill till I believe George passed away. That's I think that's 3 times that's happened over the years. I've been declared dead by somebody or other. I've frightened a few people. But no, I say it's familiarity. I say it's got to happen one day. People say, "Oh, don't retire." And I say, "Well, even if I don't retire, do you expect me to do another 50 years? Because it's not going to. It's just physically impossible unless there's a mad scientist somewhere who's working on it. But, I don't think so.
They should just clone your voice, and then it'll be there forever. There forever.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That I mean, I said when poor Jerry Marsden passed away at Christmas, I said that's going to be strange because you're going to be hearing him so often. Every match will be a memorial to Jerry Marsden. I think I might put that forward. I'll start recording stuff. There's an audio version of the book. I know a few people said, "Are you going to do an audio version?" I said, "Oh yeah," and then they'd say, "Well, who are you going to get to read it?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking of Joe Pasquale." And they just went straight over the head, but no, it's me. So there's that to keep if people want it. We'll
Absolutely.
see.
I wouldn't take Matty's clone idea just yet, though, just in case they kick you out before you're ready to go out and implement it straight away.
Yeah.
I want to use your voice for my phone.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's another little sideline I've got nowadays is making videos for people. There's a couple of sites online that I just make greetings videos for people's birthdays and whatever. It's absolutely hilarious. They all seem very happy with them. And my wife thinks it's crackers. They're paying you to sit there for 2 minutes, make a little video. Yep, I don't care.
I genuinely do think it is because so many people adore you. So many Liverpool fans absolutely adore you, and to me, you are one of the Liverpool Football Club legends. Like Carol and Caroline in the canteens, you are an absolute legend. You're up there with Shankly and Kenny, and you really are.
Now you're embarrassing me. I know Jurgen says I'm a legend, so I thought I love that. Mind you, having said that,
really are.
That Barcelona night, Piers Morgan called me a genius on Good Morning Britain the following day. So I think I'd rather have a Jurgen's version.
Yeah, well, listen, if Piers Morgan is dishing out compliments, you take what you can get, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's just like before, because, before we wind down here, I think everyone is quite, me especially, quite keen to hear about Jurgen Klopp, because we see the charismatic enigma almost that is Jurgen Klopp, and we see this jovial and happy man, but then there's also the side to him where he is deadly serious, and I think he actually brought a lot of love to Liverpool Football Club, just through being him and being through, his mannerisms and characteristics, really. I mean, how important has he been, since his arrival?
Absolutely critical. What set me off with Jurgen, the first home match after he came to Liverpool, I was in reception in the old main stand, taking my two-way radio back to the office, and Jurgen came past, and I said, I've got to say hello. And I followed him up the stairs, and I said, "Excuse me, Herr Klopp." I put my hand, I said, "My name's George. And he said, "Oh, yes, you are the famous voice of Anfield." And I looked, "Oh, what?" And he knew all what, and I was just completely knocked sideways by that. But I had a quick chat, and off it went. And there was a steward at the bottom of the stairs behind me. And he said, "You know what?" He said, I'm a steward at Melwood during the week. He said, that guy, he's been here 6 days and he knows everybody's name. Not just the players, the youth squad, tea lady, the office cat, secretary, everybody. And he said, you know what? Brendan Rodgers was there 3 years and he still doesn't know my name. And that is a measure of Jurgen Klopp. He's again, one of my pet sayings, if God forbid he ever leaves Liverpool during my lifetime, I reckon they should just take him away and plug him into the national grid. You know, he'd keep the country lit up for years to come. He really would.
Yeah, he's you know, just a phenomenal person. Like, absolutely. You know, I've seen all of the you know, the Liverpool documentaries that come out of us winning the league, and we've seen like the Champions League things as well. And like behind the scenes, he just is that man all the time, so humble and gracious, but also, you know, exact in everything. Like, you know, he's the best thing I think to happen to Liverpool Football Club, perhaps since Steven Gerrard in my lifetime. You know, and that's the way I see him. And we say it on the podcast all the time, you know, come the day that Jurgen Klopp leaves, I think we need a really big rethink at Liverpool and what's that's going to leave the club in.
Yes.
Same with George as well.
Yeah. George is never leaving. We've already agreed we're going to clone.
Okay.
It was your idea, Matty, so, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
George.
Yeah.
I mean,
just before we do go, I want to urge everyone, absolutely everyone, to go and purchase George's book. It's going to be it's a phenomenal read. Get it on Kindle, you can get it on audiobook, you get paperback, CD, hardcover, everything. Go and read some of George's fantastic stories. Like, for me, it's probably going to be one of the best Liverpool books ever written, in my opinion, because you've got 50 years of historic tales to tell. It's fantastic.
You don't even have to be a Liverpool fan to appreciate.
No, that's true.
You know, the stories are just great.
Yeah. And I'm welling up again now.
Can't wait.
I'll need all your addresses for the checks.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'll need yours so you can sign my copy as well, if that's all right. But no, we want to thank you, obviously, from the room and from LFC Transfer Room and from Matty, Daz, and I as well for joining us, because you know you are, I think, perhaps the biggest, you know, guest that we've had on, especially from Liverpool Football Club, and it's just, you know, iconic to actually have a conversation with you, and I know that Matty and Daz feel the same way. You've been on twice with Daz as well, so Daz is extremely lucky.
Yeah. You lads need to get out more.
I'm past that 30 stage now, so no, it's at home in my PJs. I think Matty still rocks out though.
No, but for me, honestly, it's a huge honour to be able to chat with you, George.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed this.
Your voice is iconic to match days for me. I really, even getting the ground before us, hearing your thoughts on music and stuff like it, it's incredible. And I just want to, on behalf of every Liverpool fan, really thank you for 50 years of fantastic service.
Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure, George.
And that is it. So yeah, thank you for one final time for George Sephton. And as for us, 3 ugly mugs, well, the 2 on my right and below me anyway. We will see you again next week. This podcast will obviously be out for those watching live. This podcast will be out on Tuesday on Spotify, Apple, Google, Android, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, iTunes Radio, everywhere where you can get your podcast from. It will be there to download from Tuesday. We will see you on the Spaces on Wednesday, Saturday, and again, we'll be doing another podcast on Sunday. But as for now, and always, thanks for listening, and up the Reds.